All right, this is probably the first video I've ever done just for admins. So just for administrative assistants, for operation managers, right? For people that are on incredible real estate teams and yet they're working in the background. Here's the truth. It's tough to work with high achievers. It's tough to work with the entrepreneurs, with the people, the salespeople, etc. So I decided to make a video for you, the people that are actually getting done, right? Behind the scenes. So would you agree? Sometimes it can be tough to work with the entrepreneur or with the lead agents, the sales agents, whatever it is. I want to walk you through a couple common traits of salespeople or of entrepreneurs, and then I'm going to give you a couple things you can do to help them. So here's some of the common traits, or to get along with them, right? Here's some of the common traits. So first off, a lot of it, I'm just going to call them high achievers because that's how I talk. Or actually, I'll call them, let's go with entrepreneurs, right? So a lot of entrepreneurs, first, they can be kind of unaware of how aggressive they can be or how offending they can be to others. Usually, entrepreneurs are running really, really fast, and sometimes they forget about the wasteland that they're leaving in their path. So I want you to realize a lot of times it's not you, it's just how they roll. They're unaware that they're offending people or knocking people over on the journey. Second thing is entrepreneurs. This is very true. A lot of them have, and I got my list right. A lot of entrepreneurs, they have a lot of highs and they have a lot of lows, and it's kind of a common trait. Now, none of this stuff is excuses. Right? It doesn't make it okay to be one way or another. I just want to let you know some of the common threads so you're aware of what you're working with on a daily basis and how to interact and work with them on an even better level. So another one, right? Entrepreneurs have a lot of highs and lows. They can be focused and intentional and relentless and fearless and knock all stuff over. But then they can get what I call tilted. And tilted means they kind of go to the other side and they can get like aggressive and arrogant. They can get sensitive. They can get irrational. They can get paranoid. Right when they kind of get too much going on. Or there's too many things to worry about, or the pressure gets too high. It's easy for them to get tilted. Maybe 5 deals fall apart at one time. They get tilted, and then they have to get themselves back to the other side. But sometimes they can stay on that tilted side for a minute, and kind of everybody pays the price. So just be aware of what that is, right? If they're having that low, if they got tilted, just be aware they're probably on that tilted side, and they got to get back to the other side. And I'm going to give you some tactics to help them get back. Okay. Another one is, and this is an interesting one that kind of surprised me when I discovered it early on, and yet I realized it's so true, right? I've coached over 5,000 entrepreneurs, and one of the things I've realized is they need solitude, which I know is kind of weird because a lot of times they're really loud, outgoing people that are all going all the day. I've realized that they need solitude. They don't oftentimes take solitude, but they need it. They've got to have times of quiet in their life to just take a breath, to lower some of that pressure noise. The problem is usually they don't do that intentionally, and it turns into, it doesn't work out very well. So one of my jobs as a coach oftentimes is to get them to take that day off, get them to take that walk or whatever it is, and have some of those times of solitude. Entrepreneurs, another one, entrepreneurs, number 5, a lot of times they don't live by a 9-to-5 schedule. Their mind is going all the time. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that they expect you to work all the time. And yet, like my admin team can attest to the fact that, like, I'll send them an email at 1 o'clock in the morning or at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'll send them a Facebook message. I don't expect them to necessarily respond at that moment, but my mind is always going, and I've got to get it out and get it to them just so they know, so I know that they've got it, right? So that's just part of how they don't really work on a 9-to-5 schedule. Their schedule is all the time, which leads to the next one. A lot of entrepreneurs are hypersensitive. It can come across a little bit of paranoid, right? They're always asking you for numbers. They're always asking you to update them on whatever it is. It's because most entrepreneurs feel like they're kind of waiting for the next foot to drop. They're always waiting for the next thing to happen that's going to mess them up. So they kind of feel like they're in a castle with 4 walls, and they're consistently waiting for one of those walls to get attacked so they can run from thing to thing to thing to thing to thing, checking things and worrying. And they may ask you the same question 6 times or for the same report over and over. And it's kind of because they live with this anxiety of something's coming to mess up my business, and I've got to be hypersensitive to make sure nothing's about to fall apart. Right? Little insight. Here's another one. And I know that most of you have seen this one in real life. A lot of times entrepreneurs in the moment will make incredible commitments that are kind of unrealistic to fulfill on. So sometimes an entrepreneur, let's say they go on a listing appointment, they get excited about it, they go, man, we really want to get this house on the market right away. Man, we'll have it on the market in the next 24 hours. They come back to the office and you're like, dude, like, you know, it takes 24 hours just to get the pictures done. What are you doing? Just realize, I'm not saying it's good, yet it can be a common trait of high achievers to just make over the top commitments that aren't necessarily doable, and then the rest of us have to pay the price. Let me give you a couple more. They have fears. A lot of entrepreneurs carry the weight around of responsibility. They feel like they're afraid of failing. They're afraid of what they just implemented not working. They're afraid of someone storming their business. They're afraid of missing the mark. They're afraid of dropping the ball because they know how many people it impacts, right? So a couple other ones are here. This is an interesting one. A lot of entrepreneurs over-rely on some of their strengths. Right? Sometimes entrepreneurs, a lot of the ones I work with, they're charismatic. They're really charismatic. They're great with people, and they can over-rely on that or overuse that skill to make up for not having the systems in place or not having the data in front of them they need. Whatever it is, they can over-rely on one thing, which kind of messes up some of the others. Okay, let me give you two more. A lot of times they have a struggle dealing with lazy people. Now, let me clarify this. A lot of times an entrepreneur or a high achiever can get frustrated with someone who maybe they're a high C, they're really into the data, and the entrepreneur sometimes can see that person as lazy if they don't know what that person is doing. Right? So the entrepreneur goes, hey, put the pictures on the internet. They don't understand oftentimes, so they forget that that's a process to do that right. It's not a 5-minute job. It's going to take a minute. So sometimes they can get frustrated when they don't see things happening right away because they're not really appreciative sometimes of the process. So I'm going to give you some stuff to do on that. So I've given you some of those common traits of entrepreneurs, of high achievers. Now let me give you some things that I believe will help you in interacting with them. Here's what I see happen sometimes. Sometimes we have silos that are built, especially in real estate teams. And you get the sales side, the salespeople on one side, you get the admin or the operations on the other side, and there can be some conflict there if they don't know how to interact correctly. So a lot of my conversations with my coaching clients are, here's how you lead your team well. Here's how you lead your operations department well. Here's how you actually show up as a leader instead of just throwing stuff at them. And then with the operations team, it's teaching them some of this stuff. So let me give you a couple things. There's 4 things I think will help you a lot if you're on the operations side. Deal with the rainmaker, deal with the salespeople, etc. So here's a couple of them. The first one is get clarity. Oftentimes you've got to slow down that drive, that high D, that driver. You got to slow them down for clarity. So you literally, you got to say, what do you want me to do? Be specific about that. How do you want me to go about that, right? How do you want me to handle this? I love this question. How do you want me to handle it if you don't do your part? Admin, it's okay to ask them this question, right? They go, man, we need to call our database every single quarter. You go, awesome. How do you want me to do that? What do you want me to get set up? And then you ask them, how do you want me to handle you, right? If you're the admin, how do you want me to handle you, Mr. High Achiever, Mr. Salesperson, right? Whatever. How do you want me to handle you if you don't do your part? Get permission. That's the next one. Get permission to stand in their way. Get permission to stand in the way of the salespeople. They're driving. I had to, my amazing executive assistant, one time I remember I had to give her permission. You have permission to stop me in my tracks, call me on my stuff, make sure I do what I need to do. You're on this team to make sure I do what I need to do. So feel free to hold me accountable. Feel free to stop them in their tracks and say, listen, right? How many times do they throw something at you and you're like, man, how am I going to get all this done by the time you said you wanted it done? And what my assistant will do now is she'll say things like, I'm happy to get this done. It means I'm going to have to put this on the back burner. Are you okay with that? Right? And that gives me the awareness of the decision and the process she's going through to make sure I know and have great expectations with her. Because she may say, hey, look, here's 8 hours of stuff you want me to do in the next 4 hours. Help me prioritize this. Which leads to this one. I love this. This comes out of Fierce Conversations. But it talks about how, teach your team how to make great decisions or how to pass things on. And I love it. Talks about the decision tree. And it says there's really 3 levels of decisions. And the first level of decision is like a leaf decision. That's the decision that I can give to Lydia, who's my right hand, and say, hey, this is a leaf decision. And that means that she can make whatever decision she wants. I trust her. I don't even need to know what decision she made. It's a leaf decision. Go and run with it, right? Then there's a branch decision. A branch decision is something that I'll give to her and say, hey, look, if you need my help on this, that's okay. But really, this is a branch decision. So if you need me, let me know. But why don't you take this and run with this and just let me know what the result was, what decision was that you made. Leaf decision, I don't even need to know what the decision was. Branch decision, you go make it, but bring it back to me what the decision was. And then there's root decisions. Root decision is where, right, we need to talk about this. We need to make this decision together. Maybe a root decision is you go gather evidence, right, or gather options, bring them back, and we're going to make this decision together, right? So you got branch, right, root, and leaf, and just this extra dialogue will help you communicate with the other members of your team. Okay, let me give you two more great ways to deal with the entrepreneur mentality. They need a lot of dashboards. They feel all the time a little bit frantic usually because they don't feel like they know what's going on. This is why a lot of times they'll ask you for an update on numbers every single day. They'll ask you for an update on the files all the time. So one of the things you've got to create if you want to really have an incredible relationship with both sides of the business, create some dashboards for them to look at. Create some reports. Ask them, what do you want to see every single day? And how do you want to see it? I remember my assistant, she used to literally lay down reports on my chair when I came into the office, right? Because she knew that I needed those numbers. And before we learned how to communicate, I would ask her for the numbers all day long. And she took that as me not trusting her. It wasn't that I didn't trust her, it's that I was always worried about somebody storming my castle, and I needed to see those data, that data on a consistent basis. Okay, here's number four. Number four, I think is really critical. You've got to learn how to have tough conversations. A lot of times the entrepreneurs are going and blowing, and sometimes they're tough to slow down and have a real conversation with. Sometimes they don't understand the impact of their decisions, or the impact of what they're asking, or the impact of not getting the paperwork ever filled out completely. Here's what I'm going to do. I want you to have simple conversations. Now recognize that a lot of entrepreneurs aren't offended when you have tough conversations with them. They're actually happy to have those conversations, but you may want to ask, hey, when there's something that's not working or something I'm frustrated about, how do you want me to bring that to you? And then go through these three things, right? Here's what happened, right? Here's what happened when you didn't fill out the paperwork all the way. Right, the second thing is, here's how it's affecting us right now as a team. Third thing, here's the impact of this if it keeps going on. If we get 5 of these or 10 properties, right, a month that don't have all the paperwork filled out, here's the impact that has on me and the rest of the operations department. You've got to give yourself permission to have tough conversations with the rest of the people on your team. Conflict is actually, healthy conflict is part of being a great team. If there's no conflict, it probably means someone's becoming resentful or things are headed for a blow up. So I trust this helps you, right? You got some traits of the entrepreneur, right? And then you've got get clarity. You've got get permission to stand in their way when you need it. You have a great dashboard set up, and then begin to learn how to have great, tough conversations so that you can get on the same page. All right. I hope this helps you, my friends. You're incredible. You are vital. You are important. And your opinions and words matter. Having some of these structures to be able to convey them make a difference. All right. Go take on the day. And if your team needs coaching, reach out to me. All right, my friends. Be your own hero. Take it on. I'll talk to you soon.